Hello everybody and welcome back to another My Porch Prints tutorials. This is Kyra and today I'm going to be showing you how to create this hidden pocket lock tag using our new GOTHIC MASQUERADE journal kit. And the hidden pocket lock is just a fancy way of saying that this entire tag is kept closed with a single piece of ephemera, and I'm going to show you how to make that here today. All of these pieces here are from our GOTHIC MASQUERADE junk journal kit. There is an add-on kit and a fussy cut kit that you might want to take a look at as well and use pieces from those instead, but I'm just using the main kit today. And everything is printed on cardstock, and I'm going to kind of take you through it step by step. Now, the concept of like a locking mechanism for a tag can be used in a variety of ways. I'm just kind of showing you one way to do it today using this new kit as just a fun project to get us in the mood for fall. All right, let's go ahead and jump right in. First thing you need is just a sheet of cardstock, and I printed mine front and back with a lighter and darker pattern to give it some contrast. Again, this is just plain cardstock that you can pick up anywhere. And we're going to begin by folding in the edges into the center of the piece of paper, just kind of matching them up and giving them a good crease. Make sure that you crease these really well. All right, next, because I hate measuring, I'm just going to take these top corners and fold them into the center line like this, and again, give them a good crease. And that crease is going to give me a guide for cutting. So I'm going to cut these corners off, and make sure that you save them because we're going to be using these later for our pockets. All right, and now that that is cut off, you can see we have a bit more of a Gothic shape here to our tag overall. So let's go ahead and begin with the actual decorating. I'm going to be using this sort of decorative punch. This is entirely optional. I just wanted to give it a shot. This is from Bira Bira. We bought it on Amazon, and it's got kind of a pretty rose pattern. Now, this was not strong enough to cut through the entire 2 pieces of cardstock. That's like, you know, because we folded the tag, it's just too thick for this, so I had to open it up, and I'm just cutting a pattern along the bottom, kind of following the guide of this paper cutter here. And when I was completely said and done, I did kind of like it when it's open, but when it's closed, the pattern sort of overlaps with itself and you just can't even really see it. So I'm not sure how I feel about it. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Do we like the decorative edge on the bottom or not? All right. Either way, it's time to continue on. So I'm going to grab one of the larger tags from the kit. Now there's a variety of tags. You can kind of pick your favorite. I think I'm going to pick this one here because it's a little more simple and has some good contrast with the dark background. All right, now that I have my tag, I am again going to be folding these top corners in to kind of give me a guide for where to cut because I want to keep my sort of pointed Gothic shape here. So I'm just going to fold those in until they touch in the center like this and cut those edges off, and you don't need to save them. All right, and now we've got kind of this shape here. And again, I'm going to fold this entire thing in half to give me a guide to cut, because we're going to cut this piece in half so that the doors of our tag can still open. All right, so go ahead and do that. And now we can go ahead and start layering the pieces we're going to use for the pocket lock. So I'm choosing a few pieces from the kit that I enjoyed here. Of course, I've got this mask from our kit. Now I chose this larger one here. I just thought that it looked nice with the matching fan and then this Gothic window as well. Again, all printed on cardstock. And you can cut the eyes out of the mask if you like. I just thought it kind of made it blend too much with the background, so I'm gonna leave mine in with the white. I just kind of like, again, the contrast and the pop that it gives. And for the pocket for our little lock we're gonna be making, I'm just taking those 2 pieces of the tag we cut in half and just kind of swapping them around to give it a more interesting shape. And I'm going to start with the mask here, figuring out where I want to place it. Now, I decided to have mine higher, which does mean that these little, I don't know, horns, what do you call it, on the top of the mask are going to kind of be poking out, and you'll see it on the inside. Now, if I was smart, I would have printed the back of this fussy cut page with the same paper I'm using inside my tag. However, I did not think that far ahead, so we'll just kind of cover that up and fix that later. All right. And I'm gonna again be using this little fan here as my actual lock piece. So we're gonna just set that aside, but kind of figure out where you want it. For now, I'm gonna have it kind of just covering the tip of the nose, sort of, you know, in a mysterious fashion. And using my pockets, these are going to be what holds that little tag in place and helps with the like quote unquote locking mechanism of the tag. So I only want these to cover up the tag just a little bit here, kind of like this, just sort of figuring out where I want the placement of things, lining things up. And I'm going to use this little Gothic window here to kind of cover up the very front of everything and make it all feel cohesive. So now that I know where everything is going to go and where I like it, I'm going to start with the back layer, which is this mask, and we're just going to cut this mask in half. Try to keep it as straight as possible with the cut here. And I'm going to go ahead and glue down this left side just a little bit, just to kind of figure out where I want things. So we kind of want to work fast here to make sure that everything is lined up. You don't want this to glue down too quickly because you might want to shift it around to make sure that these two ends match up and kind of create that total illusion of a single piece. And once you're happy with the placement, you can then glue down the other side now that you have everything where you want it. And I want to make note that you don't have to do this. This is just purely decorative. It's not part of the locking mechanism. I just wanted the tag to look more interesting with the layers. So that's what I'm doing this for. I'm going to start with this mask, glue down the rest of the other side here. And once that's dry, I'm going to go ahead and sort of place my fan kind of where I want it. I don't want it too high or too low or too far to the left or right, so I'm just kind of placing it. And that's going to help me figure out where I want the actual pockets that are holding it in place to be. So once I kind of have figured out where everything is, kind of kept things centered, again, don't want our tags moved too far to the left or right or crooked in any way. We're just going to kind of figure out where that goes and then remove our tag. And I'm going to use something to just help me weigh down one side here so it doesn't move while holding the other in place with my fingers. And again, just adding a quick little amount of glue down here to kind of just hold this in place. And then I can go ahead and glue the other side, same thing, just kind of making sure things don't shift. And now I'm going to place my fan back so I can kind of get an idea of where I want to put my glue. I don't want it too close to that fan. I want the fan to be able to move. So I'm going to keep my glue to the far left edge of this side and a little bit of glue on the bottom here. We just don't want to go too high. If you get glue too high, then your fan can't fit in the pocket. So we're just leaving room for that fan as we add glue to our little pockets here. And you can move your fan around a little bit, just test to make sure that nothing is stuck in place. And you can see that fan is holding our tag closed, but when we remove it, now we can open it. So that is the hidden pocket lock mechanism, right? Pretty quick and simple. And you can decorate the front of your tag however you want. You could get really crazy and use, you know, chains and charms and add more pockets and layers or however you want to do it. I'm going to keep things kind of simple today, just using this Gothic window here. And I'm going to cut it in half, same as the mask, and glue it kind of on top of my pockets, lining them up to create, again, the illusion of a single piece. And when gluing, you got to make sure that you don't put the glue too high on this piece, or again, you'll have the same problem of accidentally gluing down your fan and you won't be able to fit it into the pocket. So just keep the glue on the lower half of these little decorative window pieces, because that's all they are, is just decoration. And there you go. Now make sure that you've got room for your fan still and you haven't accidentally glued anything down. Do the same thing to the other side. And there you go. Now we have our completed illusion of the front of our tag here with our layers, our little fan lock. And now we can go ahead and move on to decorating the inside. So I set to immediately trying to cover up those pieces with some ink. However, the ink was not the right color and I think I made it a lot worse. So instead I'm going to do the painstaking process of tracing around the outer edge of that little piece that's sticking out on like a scrap paper from one of those triangles we cut. and I'm just going to glue those down over to kind of hide those. Now with the other triangle that we cut out earlier, I am just folding it in half and then cutting it in half along that line, and that's going to give us the start to our pockets. And we're also going to grab 2 more of those large tags from the kit. You can choose any ones you want. These are the ones I'm using. And with this darker tag, I'm going to use this on the front to kind of make like another pocket. And I want to cut it in a triangle shape, so I'm kind of figuring out where I want things to be. So I folded it in half to give me a center crease, and I think this is where I want the bottom of my pocket to kind of, like the bottom of the triangle I'm going to make to start. So I'm going to crease right there. It's like about 1 inch up from the bottom of the tag, 1.5 inches maybe. And then I'm going to find where I want the top of my triangle to be, and I'm going to fold right there along that area. And this is gonna just kind of give me a sort of start to kind of guide myself on where I want my triangle to be and kind of try to keep it even here. So I'm just gonna cut from one fold to the other. And again, if you can measure and make the same thing happen for you, good. I'm so bad with measuring, it just never works out. So this is how I do it. And then even so, I can definitely tell that that is still really crooked, but it's a pretty easy fix. So I'm just folding it in half again and seeing where the overlap is, and any that's still white and showing, I'm just going to cut that off, and that should make both sides even. Alright, so there we go. Now we have our little layered pocket, and this is the top of that tag we just cut, and I'm just going to cut that in half, and we're going to save these for our layered pockets on the side here. And this is entirely optional, but I decided I wanted a little more contrast between all of the patterns. So I'm going to be using this coffee dyed paper that I had and just glue some pieces down onto it. And then I'm going to cut them out with leaving kind of a border around them. And this is going to help separate the pieces. So we have coffee dyed paper kits in our shop. If you want to just print one out, that's fine. But just anything to give it a border. Again, it's optional, but I like the way it looks. And then using some more of those coffee dyed paper scraps, I'm going to just cut a shape that is kind of roughly the same as this sort of folded flap here, just a little bit smaller. And this is where I'm going to layer our little triangle that we got earlier on the bottom, just kind of line up the corners of the pieces. And I've got a bit of my triangle here that's sticking out, so I'm going to just cut that until it is flush with that coffee dyed layer in the back. All right, just like this. And then behind that is going that other piece that we cut from our large tag earlier, and they're just going to kind of layer one over the other. Alright, hopefully that kind of makes sense. I know that's a little complicated, but I really wanted to use up some scraps in this project, so that's kind of how I'm doing it. Feel free to make your pockets however you want. And to mirror it on the other side, I'm just grabbing my 2 triangle pieces and just cutting off that extra tip from one of them so that now they match. These 2 are already mirrored, and for this piece I'm just going to trace it out on the scrap coffee dyed paper, and there we go. Now we have 2 matching layered pockets on either side of our tag. And again, optional, I'm just going over the edge of the coffee dyed paper with some distress ink to give it a little bit more contrast and make it look a little more finished, but you don't have to do that. And now we can begin to glue everything down. So starting with this large tag piece here, I'm using Fabri-Tac, and I'm just going over the edges of the tag with a very thin line, as well as the bottom here, to leave the top open so that we can tuck some ephemera in there later. And go ahead and try to keep it from overlapping with your punched pattern at the bottom if you did that, but you don't also want it to be too high or ephemera might stick out of the top of the tag and you'll be able to see it on the other side. And then with the layer that's going in front, again, same idea, glue on the sides and the bottom, leaving the top open, and I'm just going to glue it down so that the bottom of this piece is flush with the tag in the back. And with the little pieces on the side, I'm adding glue to the bottom and the taller edge of this piece here. And I'm leaving the other sides open so that you could tuck ephemera back here. I won't be doing that today, but you certainly could if you wanted to. And when I glue these down, I'm gluing them in from the outer edge just a little bit. That's just stylistic, you don't have to do that. And I'm using a piece of cardboard just to kind of make sure everything is even and flush so that nothing's too high or too low. And I'm gonna take those 2 scrap pocket pieces and I'm just going to layer them so that they are lined up with the sort of left edge of our coffee dyed piece in the back here. And I'm also going to layer it so that this piece kind of is hidden down behind the triangle just a little bit. I don't want this kind of awkward space here, so I'm just going to move it down until that disappears. And that is how I am layering these 2 pieces. All right, so for this first one, you can go ahead and kind of just trace along the bottom to keep the placement of where things are if you want. And then we're going to add glue again on the left edge and along the bottom. Try to stay as close to the edge as possible so that you give yourself as much room for ephemera as you can, since these are pretty small tuck spaces. Same thing with the triangle along the taller side and the bottom. And make sure that you give yourself as much room as possible with a thin bead of glue. And don't add any to this smaller edge here or this long side, because again, we want plenty of space to tuck ephemera in. If you add glue, it makes it just a little bit harder. So there we go. All right, and go ahead and do that same thing to the other side. And I'm also going to be adding this like gem ephemera fussy cut piece. And you could add glue along the bottom and make it into like another tuck space to tuck ephemera into. However, I'm just going to use mine decoratively today, but you could do that. And once you have everything glued down, you can go ahead and fill up your pockets. So for this one, I'm using this tall tag here. I added an eyelet, and I did go over all of these pieces with some distress ink, and they are all printed on cardstock. This is just like a scrap piece that I tore the edges of and added ink to. I just thought it looked kind of nice and gave a little bit of a simplistic background for some of these more complicated pieces here. So just layering up this little mask and this fussy cut flower vase. And then I've got these little bottles as well. These are pretty cute, so I'm going to tuck those in. And I am trying to use larger pieces in front and smaller pieces in back. Same with like wider pieces in front and taller, thinner pieces in back. I just think that it makes the layering look a little bit nicer. So that's kind of what I'm going with here. And these are going to be our final ephemera pieces that we're going to tuck into our pockets here to finish up our Gothic tag with the hidden pocket lock here. And you could use this on the cover of a journal or inside of a journal page, or you could give it away as a gift, maybe like as some happy mail or something like that. And since Halloween is coming, I think this would be a really fun gift for somebody to get, or just kind of a nice way to spend an afternoon while crafting a quick fun project. Alright, so that is it for today's tutorial. Thank you so much for watching and for crafting along with me. Again, links are in the description box if you are interested in looking for anything there, but otherwise I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye!